So I'm recording this now, so thank you for sitting down and talking with me. It's just to start off something simple, what's your name and where are you based and kind of what do you do for the post office?
My name is Jerry Kerner Jr. I'm a city letter carrier for the United States Postal Service. I work in the Towson zip code of the Baltimore Post Office, which is 21204 and 21286.
Oh, cool. How long have you been with the Postal Service?
Uh, Actually, April was my 16th year with the Postal Service. So April 1st, April Fool's Day was my 16th year with the Postal Service.
It's funny how that stuff works out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a little ironic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. What led you to kind of get a job with the Postal Service?
Well, my father was a president of the local union. He was also a national business agent for the union, and I had gotten, I don't want to say, I didn't really have a lot of direction then. Let's leave it at that. And the Postal Service gave me some direction. It gave me some structure, and that's what I needed at the time. And it's been, a good career. I got a bachelor's degree in political science from Towson University. I didn't really, when I saw what my brother went through when he went to work for Steny Hoyer's office many years ago, and it was low pay and long hours, and especially during campaign season, and you basically you couldn't afford to live in DC or anywhere near it. He was commuting from my parents' house in Towson to DC 6 and 7 days a week, and I'm not that type of person. When my day is done, it needs to be. When the truck is empty, that means my day is done. I don't need to have all this other stuff looming over me. What needs to be happening, the next day or the next week or whatever the scenario might or might not be.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So why don't you just could you walk me through what a typical day was like for you pre-COVID? Like, what was your routine like?
Well, pre-COVID, it was the really thing that's really affecting us is staffing. Is what the major issue. It's staffing, and it's long mornings and long nights sometimes. Fortunately, some of that staffing has returned recently, but before that, it was 12 to 16-hour days just to get the stuff moved because we didn't have staff. And when I talk about staff, so every zip code in 212 is considered the Baltimore Post Office. So while we might have, everyone has a route where I am, and there's not too much stuff that's not covered, we also have like assistants there that cover vacations and sick leave and stuff like that. Well, they're taking that stuff from us, so now we have to cover all that stuff to fill in the other vacancies in the other zip. You're talking 32 zip codes in the Baltimore Post Office, which is a lot to cover, and staffing has played a major part of it. And it's just the employees aren't there because of childcare issues. The schools aren't open. Some of them are caring for elderly parents, or and they just it's really a lot of it is staffing. And as far as the morning functions and as far as the delivery process, but when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, really in the beginning when this whole COVID thing started and the state shut down, delivery was much faster. You were just out there a lot longer because there was no staffing, because the businesses were shut down. You weren't going to all these businesses door to door because the mail volume wasn't there, dried up. So you were filling in your days by doing residential territory in different places, and it just now it's a problem. It has come back in a way that now you're having to cover everything again, and with limited staffing, because now the businesses are back, the malls are back open, and these sorts of things generate mail volume, these businesses. So now, where before where you might have had a little bit of flexibility because, I have an hour or 2 hours worth of businesses on my route that are now shut down, and I can go and cover the residential part of my route. Now I'm having to do all that plus 3 and 4 and 5 hours someplace else because everything is back, and then that this staffing situation hopefully will resolve itself soon. But it's just until you have the people in place, it's there's no way to other cover it other than using hours. That's what they have to do to get it delivered. And good or bad, I mean, it's been very profitable for me. Let's put it this way: we've made a lot of money, but at the same time, it's been long days and long nights, and our stress level's gotten a little high sometimes. Yelling and screaming at each other, but at the end of the day, everybody's still friends, and you just kind of shake hands and you move forward and go to the next, because everybody's experiencing the same thing. Everybody's going through this, and you just have to find the best way through it for everybody. And let that, and what that person has gone through, let them go through it, and respect that, and deal with it in that way. But I don't know if that answered what you wanted me to say.
No, that gets a sense. Like it just sounds like, yeah, you just basically, you're working much longer hours than you would have done before. And it sounds like, yeah, so before, it sounds like, it was a mix of businesses and residential mostly that you would deliver
Correct.
to?
Yes. So our zip code is sort of unique in that 75% of our zip code is business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of a unique environment. Downtown is probably the only, zones 1, 2, and 31 are probably the only thing that are similar to where we are. So you had a large portion of it's the county seat up here. So, a lot of this stuff was shut down. We were able to make delivery to a lot of this stuff because the business had put out alternate delivery points and that sort of stuff. But that just speeds you up even more because you don't have to go to a specific location every day. Buildings would put up, drop boxes where you would go and drop the mail for the building and those sorts of things, because either they didn't want you in the buildings, or, we were worried about going in some of the buildings because of some of the stuff that we've heard from tenants, or what the tenant told us about employees that might not have been tested yet because they had displayed some symptoms. It was really sort of a judgment call, really, and they really gave us a lot of latitude in determining if we were going to go into a business or not. And a lot of that was our latitude and not the business's latitude as to what we felt was safe. Here in this zip code, it's a wealthy zip code here, so I don't think it's you might have some of the issues in the zip codes where the wealth isn't as great. I think that those judgments calls are probably a lot harder to make because, at the same time, you have people gathering around places, and that gatherings of people is not good. That stuff was still going on. The offices were there in some sort of capacity, but, education is a lot of what this virus is. And if, these the communities don't have access to this education, and they don't know, stay 6 feet apart, wear a mask, don't gather in big groups, then that's where you had to be a lot more cautious. I'm not saying that we weren't careful here, but our level of comfortableness, I think, was a lot higher than a lot of other places because of the access to information about this illness or virus, or however you want to refer to it was. It's just I guess a socioeconomic thing. The higher income levels gives you greater access to things and information and all that. But I don't want to speak for the other areas either. But it just seems like the other areas might have had some more troubles.
Okay. But it sounds like still that process of like trying to make the judgment call about the business, and do you go in, do you not, is there a drop box, and like what are you hearing? Yeah, that sounds like pretty tense. Was there any sort of particular encounters or moments that stood out there for you?
Well, I will tell you this: when we, my experience has been pretty great. I don't think I've really had, I've had negative experiences with the Postal Service and Postal Service customers, but as far as this timeline of events, mine has largely been positive. I know when when we got the first case in the Baltimore zip code was in the Dundalk post office, and they asked for some volunteers to go down there on Sunday because they had a major backup of mail. And I said, sure, I'll go down there and help them out. I was a little worried, because they had this place that had their first case, and they had assured us the building had been cleaned and but I took my own truck with me, my own keys, scanners, all that stuff, just as, not that it's going to make me any more secure, it just made you feel a little more secure, and we got out there, and I'm out there, but it was largely packages the first time, and you just have customers coming out, and they're just thanking you, saying, hey, it was weird not seeing a truck in the neighborhood, what's going on? I said, look, I don't really know a whole lot. I said, I'm just here to help out, get some stuff there. And they were really very appreciative just seeing these trucks down in these neighborhoods again, because, it was 7-10 days they hadn't seen anything. We're used to being in neighborhoods every single day. You see the truck every single day in these neighborhoods, and they hadn't seen that, and they didn't do a real good job, the Postal Service, of communicating what the problem was, but the problem was staffing again. They had 60 people that the local health department immediately told to self-quarantine and pulled them out of the operation. So, that's basically the entire staff at the Dundalk post office, which is, you basically had about 10 people still there trying to service that entire 21222 zip code and 21219 zip code, which is it's a Herculean task even with the staffing there. Now, you don't have staffing there, and you're trying to accomplish the same thing. But the customers were really very appreciative of just being down there and making an effort and generally being down there to try to help and answer as many questions as you could. And, like I can only speak about so much that was going on, they just don't let us do that, and the newspapers are reporting some things, and, they heard, through newspapers, or maybe they had a family member that might have known somebody that worked there, or whatever the case was, just some of this, I'm not saying it was rumor based, because a lot of what they were telling me was what I was hearing as an internal employee, what had taken place. But for the most part, it was largely a positive experience. I felt good about going down there and helping people, and the people were really just very thankful. We went down there. I went down there 2 or 3 times on a Sunday to help out, and it was largely a positive experience, I'll tell you. I did not think it was going to be. I really was expecting some nasty people, but it certainly was to my surprise, was definitely not the case. They just wanted to see people, see the trucks again, because the trucks were a sign of maybe things are getting back to normal a little bit. And it since took some more time to get it. It's not really normal now, because there's a lot of post offices that are struggling out there because of the staffing issues, but we're doing the best we can. That's really the only thing we can do. I mean, there's no shortage of overtime anywhere. I mean, whatever these media reports you've seen, they cut out overtime. I don't know where that is. I'd like to know where that is, because I'd like to go home and maybe 8 hours, maybe one day a week would be nice. But wherever this reports that there's no overtime anywhere, I don't know where that exists. I don't know if it's here or it's some fictitious post office someplace maybe, but I don't know where that is. But, but I would imagine that the experience I have had are largely what a lot of large post offices are going through is staffing issues, staffing problems. So.
Yeah. So I guess, it sounds like, 12, 14-hour days, that's a lot. Have there been, besides the staffing issues and the additional pressures that creates, have there been any other sort of changes like changes in routine?
Well, we're supposed to, they put lines at the time clock marking 6 feet apart. That's different. For a while our start times were staggered in the beginning to have less employees in line at the time clock, and they since gotten a little away from that. But they want you to wear a mask inside. See, as a federal employee, they cannot mandate us to wear those masks. The state cannot mandate us to do it. So we're doing it as one, as our own safety, and two, as your coworkers' safety as to doing it. But once we get out in the street, the state can't make any law that the federal government is enforceable to a federal employee while he or she is in the performance of their duties. So. But with that, it's you gotta wait and stage yourself in lines to get your scanner and keys and stuff like that. That's different, but I mean, everybody was kind of getting their stuff at different times anyway, so it really wasn't. What's changed is now they want everybody staggered in line, so they just have one trip up there for everybody. But it's. As far as something that was monumental and earth shaking and something I couldn't deal with, not yet. No, I mean, but we got a long way to go, I think. Still, I mean, they could come up with something. The biggest thing for me was when because I have asthma and allergies that are pretty significant, especially in the summertime. And I called my doctor, and I was having these symptoms that were kind of aligning with what they're saying this illness was doing. And she was telling me, hold off, they're not going to give you a test anyway, so just hold off. And then what the game changer was, we had a positive case in our office. And I called her up, and she pulled me out of work and said, because of this, now I need to know more information. So I missed about 10 hours I used about 10 hours of sick leave in May, but I went and got tested and it was negative. But she, with the stuff that I was experiencing, she wasn't taking any chances any longer because of this positive case that we had. And subsequently after that, we had another positive case. We don't know who they are, but we don't even know. What's weird is that everyone's there to be accounted for, but they say there was a positive test kit there. So I don't know where these people are or are not, but it's just weird because everyone's accounted for. It's just really, really weird. And so when that happens, then you have a group of people that they're gone for 2 weeks, regardless. They're gone when they hear that happen. So then that's another staffing issue again, on the already shorted staffing issue. So I guess to what you were trying to, yes, when there's a positive test case, that makes the situation harder. The people will generally be there until they hear something else. They want to get out of there right away, but which, I mean, it's understandable. I get it. Everybody's situation is different. You have elderly parents, young kids, whatever it is. Maybe your husband or wife had a transplant or a heart condition or whatever it is. Then you got to take that stuff seriously.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess in terms of like the sort of 12, 14-hour days and all of this sort of juggling this, I mean, you mentioned like occasionally tempers getting frayed, which is normal and natural and human. I guess how have you been coping with sort of the stress? Like what, anything you like to do when you come home to just unwind or just turn your brain off? Or
it's funny you say that. So when I was a child, my parents weren't rich people, and I was always fascinated with Legos. So I've amassed this Lego collection. I can show it. You can see me, right?
Yeah, I can see you.
So if you look here, this has all been built during COVID.
Oh, wow.
All this is built during COVID. This is the one I currently have going on. And then this is the stuff that is to be built. So,
oh, wow.
It has been a great stress relief for me because I can just sit down in these books and follow these instructions on how to put this stuff together. And it was stuff, I had 4 brothers and sisters. My parents couldn't afford to buy this stuff for us. I mean, this stuff was, I mean, that stuff was, it's expensive. It's expensive now, But, I mean, I'm a single guy, so I have a little more latitude in what I spend things on, But it has been a great stress because I can just sit here and follow these directions and not think about anything. Just do this and do this and do this, and not think of, oh well, I got to go and work tomorrow, and this person might be, what are this? Think about the 12 and 14-hour day that's looming on you. You just sit here and do something. It worked for me, and I don't know what other people done. My scenario is a little bit different because a lot of people I work with are married or have I don't have a significant other right now, but I need something to occupy my time.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, and Legos are great, for the record, are a great hobby because I like, those look like some pretty cool sets because I would play with them as a kid myself and still will go to the Lego store and it'll be like, I just wish there were, and they are expensive, like, because on a grad student seller. No, that's a cool hobby. Like,
yeah, I mean, I do some mountain biking occasionally, and what really is occupying my time as well is I've been working 6 and 7 days a week just to have something to do, so that I'm not like I've been going so up until Monday a week ago, I worked 36 days without taking a day off.
wow.
Now, because I work Sundays. Now, Sunday was a shorter day. I didn't stay there for my full 8 hours. I'd leave after 5 or 6.5 hours, something like that, just to have something to do. So I'm just not sitting home doing nothing, just to occupy some time, But it just gets. You need to have something to do. You need to have. If I didn't think of this, I don't know what I'd be. Probably a fall down alcoholic or something like that, because it just, it wears on you. It really does. It wears on you just sitting here hour after hour. You're thinking, what the heck am I going to do? It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday. What am I going to do now till 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah. No, I mean, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense because there's just that sort of, you got a lot, like there's a lot of people with like a lot of loose time on their hands in ways that they weren't expecting it. So I guess another question that comes to mind though is, so like this COVID comes in, when did it sort of first become real for you? When did it first cross your radar, and when did you first have the realization, oh, this is going to affect me?
When Hogan shut the state down, that's when I realized that this is something that I hadn't grasped onto yet. And then what was that, like March, like the 13th or something like that, or somewhere around in there? That's when I said, well, this is, and to be honest, I really thought we were going to shut down, to be honest with you, because it just was, wow, the state is completely shutting down. I mean, this does not happen for no reason at all. But that's what I say, that this is a much more different environment than we were operating in. And then when we were in an office building, and this lady tells me about the person they had working for her, that they yank her up because of flu-like symptoms, and they didn't say anything to us. We're in there every day, and it's this sort of stuff where people aren't telling you everything, that, oh, you're reading hearing these reports on TV, you're reading reports in the newspaper, that, I mean, should I be concerned that they didn't, disclose this information to me? Should I not be concerned about it? I mean, that's when he shut things down, and then when you find out you might have been in close contact with somebody that's when things got a little more defined for me, at least. That, hey, that look, I need to be a little more aware about what's going on, and maybe now that I had to ask questions, but maybe taking some other precautions as far as to, this receipt of people picking up mail or taking mail from me or whatever it is. Maybe we need to put some more foreign policies in place about how we're going to handle this stuff.
Mhm.
Because at that point, we didn't really know really how. One minute they're saying, oh, you got to be 3 feet away or 15 meters away. Next minute it's 3 feet away. Next minute it's 15 minutes. Next minute it's 6 minutes of contact. So you really didn't know. Every day the narrative's changing about this stuff. So we just, you have to come up with a policy that says, hey, well, this minimizes the contact with everybody right now, and this is how we're going to do things until we can get a little more clear situation of what's taking place here.
Mhm. I mean, were there any particular, when that was happening, were there any sort of particular precautions you took, or like on your own initiative?
To be honest, at the time when this stuff all first took place, and what was, I'll tell you what was the worrisome part is that the worrisome part to me was the lack of supplies that were available, the
Mhm.
lack of gloves, sanitizers. That stuff was not available for us. We had none of that stuff, none,
Mhm.
until these, until the distillery started making these hand sanitizers and stuff like that, and we were able to snag a couple cases of this stuff to start making our own stuff, but there were no supplies, and that was for me the scary part. And then they want, our employer wants us out there making this, and you're basically out there with nothing in the beginning. Now that the horse is already out of the barn, now you have everything,
Yeah.
but in the beginning it simply wasn't there. There was supposed to be a national stockpile in this warehouse in Kansas, but whatever that stockpile was either raided by other federal agencies, healthcare agencies or whatever for it, or simply did not exist in the demands that were needed by people that are out there interacting with the public every day. It just simply wasn't there,
Mhm.
and that's was a little worrisome. That's put it that way. And this whole idea of operate, that everything is still normal for that to operate, and you don't have anything at all. That's the part that was a little uneasy, I would say.
Mhm.
But we got through it.
Yep.
Got on the other side of it. We're still here.
Mhm.
And I understand why they the hospitals and stuff got that stuff first. I get that and understand that. you know. But we survived. That's what's important. We're here. We're talking to you.
Yep,
you know,
exactly. And
you
I'm
know.
really appreciative of that. That's great. Um, I guess, I would say, I guess my final question is sort of like, their final question would be like, is there anything you're hoping to see like in your workplace in the coming months or weeks or something? Like, what are your expectations for sort of the future? Like,
I, you know, to be honest, I don't really need awards. I don't need recognition of any of this stuff that we're doing. You know, just some overall, as a group of employees, not me in particular, but as a group of employees, say, hey, look, these are the efforts that you all have done. For your efforts, here's a new policy we're going to put in effect for, we're going to give you additional leave or whatever it is for the people that have been there the entire time, whatever it is, we'll give you something, because, you have people that are there every day. And what used to take place, like in situations where we would have bad snowstorms or ice storms or whatever, the employees that reported to work that day got an additional day of administrative leave in which they were there. I would like something like that. I'm not saying every day for the next 6 months I need a day of administrative leave. But what I'm saying is, why not recognize, because it's not costing them anything to give it to you. Why not recognize the employees in some manner I don't know what the formula is. I don't know what it looks like, but at least say, hey, here, take a couple of days on us. You've been here all the time for everybody. The supervisors, I'm talking everybody in the Postal Service. Here's a couple of days on us. Go enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And I really think that the employees would be responsive to it. I mean, this whole thing of giving people pizza parties and all that other stuff, they can have all that stuff. I don't need that. I can buy my own pizza, my own soda, my own beer. I can buy all that my own. I don't need that part. But just say, hey, thanks for looking out for the Postal Service and doing the job you did. And hey, take 3 days on us this week or whatever this, however it works out. Add it to your leave bank, just so as a way of saying thanks. And I mean, yeah, it is our job and it's what we do and it's what we signed up for. And maybe they, their point is they don't have to do that for us, but this is a unique environment that we're all operating in, and it's something that I don't think is going to be quickly forgotten, but I think will be quickly to remember, or will be remembered, is if you don't do something for the employees. If you don't, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that you did nothing for us, but we're out there every single day, in the beginning without sanitizers, gloves, and masks, all this every single day working, and you didn't care one bit. You didn't thank us in any way, by saying nothing at all. I think that will be remembered more than anything. I mean, we just, we need to do a better way of showing appreciation from people, I think, and what they do. And I certainly would not be, people advocating for hazard pay and all that stuff. And I really don't think that now is the time, because in my personal opinion, you're almost holding the country hostage over something like that. I don't need that right now. I think that's something that's better covered in contractual negotiations with our employer, rather than forcing Congress to do it or forcing them to vote. I just don't think, I see that as holding them hostage over something, and I don't agree with that. But I would be on board with getting a couple extra days. That I would take, because that's an easy give. It really is. It's an easy give. It's not hard, and the Postal Service, they're going to do very well this year. I think this is probably going to be their best year probably since 2015. They've taken a lot of hits. I'm sure you've seen the reports in the news and in the papers and everything. They've taken a lot of things on the chin, but I think we're going to come through this as a better organization, in my opinion. I know if we just got to get through it though first.
Yep.
Got to get on the other side of it.
Yep. No, 100% agree on that. So I think that covers most of the questions I have, but any sort of closing thoughts, any last final things you want to share?
No, I think it's great. You wanted to sit down and talk for a few minutes about, about what, people other than what doctors and nurses are doing, as part of their routine. I thought that was a pretty unique experience for me to be able to at least give you a snapshot of what's going on. It's not everything, it's just, you're trying to think about everything that you're doing, and it's become almost that it's normal now. And what was the way you did it in the past? It's it's just weird how you had to kind of, well, yeah, that really did change, but no, I just think it's great that you guys have a project like this. I think it's pretty neat to do. Pretty neat to be a part of it. And again, thank you for the opportunity to listen.
Yeah. No.